Good morning. Welcome to Tec de Monterrey. It's like a very important gathering of human capital here in our university with the conviction, with the trust that we have that several universities among us are making an effort to develop the assessments to see if we really are achieving what we claim on developing the skills among our students, among them critical thinking, effective communication, the part of learning to learn, assessing data, etc. So let me give you a little brief introduction on why and how we put together this conference. Several months ago, as we were developing internal efforts at the School of Social Sciences to improve the internal assessments that we do for our education model, we were requested to see outside where were the efforts that are done precisely around the world to assess the skills of our students. So we approached different institutions and we found about the Council for Aid for Education. We talked to them, they talk about the CLA Plus assessment, and one of the things, the persons that know me, I'm Marco Fernández, a member of the School of Government and the Rector of the Education Initiative. I'm very candid, so I was talking to the colleagues of the CAE. I said, well, but which are the universities that are using this assessment? And particularly, what do the universities do with the results? Because if we, for example, in the education initiative that we work with several governments in Mexico, are always pushing the assessment of learning is key, but it's key because once that we have the data, we need to work with our faculty to improve the learning experience of our students. We would be expecting that these kind of efforts would be doing a similar strategy with the universities. So they talked to us and they told us about Texas A&M, that they were doing workshops with their faculty, and I said, well, do you think that they could put me in contact with the people of Texas A&M? So I was able to talk to the provost and said, well, we are doing internal workshops to help train our faculty for improving the way that they teach and develop critical thinking and other skills. And I know that as academics, probably you have noticed that sometimes, given that some of us have PhDs, we're not very self-critical, no? So I said, well, I assume that some of the faculty with the workshops could be reluctant to be advised on how to improve their teaching and develop these skills. Have you had those kind of experience? Because I can imagine that maybe at my institution something can happen like that. I said, yes. The provost was very candid too. I said, yes, at the beginning we have some skepticisms, but the workshops have worked very well. The business school has accepted these practices, and once that they begin to see the results with their students, more faculty have joined. So that's the way that we decide internally to develop what they call the CADIs internally, these workshops. We have a pilot of those workshops with the social sciences faculty. We have one in the summer and one in this January, and hopefully a third one that now is going to be open to all schools. The first two CADIs were only for faculty of social sciences because we're pilots to try to learn how things are going. And this is why we began to see if this is producing results. So let me just share with you some basic data. Internally, we have done, with the support of my colleague, Sandra Reyes, that is at the back of the room, we have been doing an internal assessment precisely to see how the skills of our students of social sciences have improved or not. And is particularly in the context precisely of social sciences. And we had the advantage, and by coincidence, that the first assessments, we carried them out before COVID. And we had the advantage also of making the assessment of the previous education model, the last generation that was studying on the previous education model, and the first generation of the new education model that our university has been implemented. And as you can see, we have evidence that after COVID, first we have a learning loss, as it happened in other places. And fortunately, with the effort of our faculty, we have been working very hard to overcome those challenges, and now things are improving. Recently, and I'm sure that will also sound familiar to this audience, as the last assessments we have been conducting, we have the challenge that our students, some of them, have the temptation to use artificial intelligence to answer the assessment. Despite that we are using software to try to protect that, so immediately we discussed with our colleagues of CAE. I said, around the world there is this discussion that artificial intelligence can be positive and negative, and the temptation that our students outsource their knowledge, not really boost their knowledge, could undermine critical thinking. So as part of that reflection, precisely in the workshop that we had in January, we began to see, okay, we have several challenges. We need to improve effective communication. To do it in a context where people have that temptation to cheat with artificial intelligence. But artificial intelligence is basically here. We cannot deny that it's out there. So how are we going to use it in an intelligent way? How are we going to improve the way that we are training our faculty? Because what we have seen is that students are running faster than their faculty in adapting this technology. And in that training, how do we use it so it can really boost the learning experience and not undermine critical thinking? So, as you can see in the slide, now most of our students at Tech, for example, are using artificial intelligence. So for us, the big challenge is in that environment, how do we improve, for example, their capacity to analyze information, communicate in a written way, for example, effectively, and not cheat in the process. So the next slide, please. In this environment, that's why we have been using CI to see how the results are going and to understand, and that's the purpose of this workshop today, what other colleagues are doing in terms of improving the results. Here, this is part of the results is the only thing that I'm going to share of our internal results. As you can see, we can see either the glass full or empty. Yes, our students are performing correctly in the part of the test of CIL+, although 30% of our students of social sciences still have not reached the level of the skills that we would like to. And it's part of the internal discussions that we are having with the deans, with the academic dean, and with our directors of the programs to talk with our faculty, what are we going to do to change those results, to improve those results. And that is the purpose precisely because of this workshop. We know that we need to improve problem solving. We know that we need to improve the writing skills to really produce effective communication skills. And particularly, and this is relevant, because at the end of the day, if we are in the classroom, we have the duty to explain to our students why this is important. Because when they go out in the job market and they are applying for jobs, if they don't have the capacity to be critical thinkers, if they don't have the capacity to distinguish reliable information from fake news, if they do not develop teamwork skills, if they don't have the capacity of problem solving, if they don't develop effective communications, in a context where we know that several entry-level jobs are being substituted by artificial intelligence, then they're going to have a challenging future. So precisely, that's why among one of the main concerns of today's workshop was how can we invite colleagues from other universities that are working in similar efforts, that are, I'm sure, facing similar challenges, to learn what they are doing, what are the positive and the negative lessons. I mean, I'm sure, I remember a long time ago, I used to work at the World Bank, and the president back then told us, you do not only have to write the papers with the positive results. You need also to write papers of what didn't work. So that's the way that we really learn. So I hope that in today's workshop, as part of the shared knowledge, we can also be very candid to say, okay, we have tried this, and this didn't work, and we are trying to do these new avenues of academic work. In the middle of all these efforts, we decided that it was key, first, to invite to our colleagues of the high school system of Tec de Monterrey, and our colleagues from our brother institution, Tec Milenio, because we are a community that need to learn what are the shared efforts that we are doing in this regard. For us, at least half of the students at the college level come precisely from the different schools, high schools of Tec de Monterrey. And I know, because of his dean and the academic dean, that they are doing efforts in that direction, and we need to learn what they are doing, because there's going to be a connection once that they come to our classroom to see how we can gain from the already knowledge that they have developed there. Finally, among these efforts, one of the things that was key is to invite faculty that already, after the training that they have received at Purdue, at Texas A&M, our colleagues from Ibero, la Universidad Iberoamericana, and la Universidad de Guadalajara, and from our school itself, how they are using those lessons, transforming their teaching experience in the classroom, and to see if that is working. Because when we work in these kind of projects with the public schools, we always insist the importance of learning from the other, of sharing with academic communities. So if we ask that for our education authorities in the government, we need to show by example, and here at Tec de Monterrey, do the same with our colleagues. So I really want to thank our different authorities that are here. Paco Enriquez, that was very supportive to provide us funds, and the different areas of the university, and of course our provost Juan Pablo Murra, that for several years have believed in the work that the Education Initiative is doing, and has been a key supporter of our work. when even he was not the provost, our vice president, and I approached him a long time ago in a professor's meeting in Querétaro, telling him, I mean, look, we are the largest private university in Mexico, and we do not have an education policy center. That is not acceptable, and I really acknowledge that he accepted the provocation and was the first one champion of saying, let's put it together, this effort. And I hope that with time we have honored his trust and the trust of the other authorities. And one of those attempts to really continue with those efforts is precisely this workshop. We want to contribute to the different efforts that our leaders at Tec de Monterrey are doing to improve the learning experience of our students. So I really hope that today the experience that we're going to be developing is productive for all of us, for all the institutions that kindly accepted our invitation. Welcome to Tec de Monterrey, and now let me give the floor to our provost, that I'm sure that he will share with us several precisely of the different actions that we are putting together to improve the learning experience of our students, particularly in one, by coincidence, a relevant day in Mexico, because today is the Teachers' Day, National Teachers' Day. So it's a perfect coincidence to have a kind of this a session, this workshop, precisely because we as professors want to do a better job in the classroom. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tech. I don't know what I need to say after your presentation, but anyways, as Marco was saying, we're celebrating Día del Maestro in Mexico. I just came back from having breakfast with over 900 of our faculty members here on campus. So it's a special day for education in Mexico and in Tec de Monterrey. While listening to Marco, maybe I'm gonna leverage that I have the microphone and tell you my own personal journey into becoming a little bit obsessed with assessment. Previous to joining Tech 14 years ago, I was a consultant for McKinsey & Company. Tech was my client at the time, and I had the chance to work, which at the time was the head of McKinsey Global Education Practice, Sir Michael Barber. I don't know if you know him. He was a professor in the public system in Great Britain, and then became the Minister of Education with Tony Blair. Then he joined McKinsey as the head of the Global Education Practice. He left McKinsey and joined Pearson as the Chief Education Officer. So I got the chance to meet him during my time that I was doing educational projects in McKinsey. And when I joined Tech, I attended ASU GSB conference back when it was still in Phoenix, like 14 years ago. And he gave a conference, so I went to listen to him, and he said that as an education system or industry or group, we needed to make a confession that it was that we truly didn't know if our products and services worked. And that caught my attention. I was joining Tech as VP for Planning and Transformation, and he was about to publish or was publishing during the event a little booklet called an efficacy framework. And it was an internal framework that Pearson was going to use to assess if their products and services worked, all the way from textbooks to universities that they were running in Europe. So that, again, it got me thinking, because we design our educational offering, we do our best efforts, we try to bring the best students, the best faculty, then we do the delivery, but does it work or not? Sometimes it's a question that we don't even attempt to answer. So I came back with those thoughts, and the next week, we had a program here at Tech, we still do, called Novus, in which we invite our faculty members to propose how to improve different courses or learning experiences, and we grant them some seed money for them to do it. So one of them was very successful, at least that's what they claim, in our Prepa Tech, and they wanted more money. And it was the development of an ebook for a biology class. And the KPIs for knowing that this was successful was that the faculty were happy and that the students were happy. But I asked them, did they learn better biology or more biology? And nobody even thought about measuring that. And that, again, started a conversation. So a group of us, I sent an email to Sir Michael Barber. I told him, what you're doing at Pearson, I want to do at Tech. So he was intrigued that a university was willing to do that, say, come to London. A bunch of us went to London for 3 or 4 days to develop our own efficacy framework, now called Escuela, in which we try the different innovations that we do internally at Tech, at least try to measure if it's working or not. And I think that mindset is very important. Complementing to what Marco was saying, we launched the Iniciativa por la Educación con Equidad y Calidad because we are committed to improving public policy in education, and not only public policy, the outcomes of that public policy, but also very quickly we identified that there were elements that we needed to do internally. In this period of time as well, Tec de Monterrey transformed its educational model, and we defined that our educational model was competence-based, challenge-based, flexible in where, how, and how to learn. It was not only focused on the academic experience, but the whole university experience, including co-curriculars and other elements that are part of the learning journey of attending Tech, and of course, inspiring faculty. And again, I think this is great. We defined very diligently for each program which were the disciplinary competences and which were the transversal competences that we want to develop. We designed the learning experiences and the programs with that in mind. We trained our faculty members to define and assess them and try to assess them. And that's where we stop, if I'm honest. And I think these efforts of trying to truly assess disciplinary competences, but also transversal competences are very important, are very hard. In our previous undergraduate plans that we call them 2019, because it's the year that we launched them, in addition to the disciplinary competences, we had 7 transversal competences and 21 sub-competences, and we have 50,000 students. So imagine truly assessing and guaranteeing that each one of them did develop these sub-competences through their journey at Tech. It's daunting, right? So we're trying to simplify with less competences, less sub-competences, better measurement instruments, but I think the mindset needs to be there, and I'm very happy for the work that Marco is doing, that IFE is doing, that Prepa Tech is doing, that our Vice Provost for Academics, Rafaela, is doing, that our schools are doing, because otherwise, if it's only a small group of people here talking about this, it's not going to be enough. When Marco told me about this event, I'm very happy that we're sharing this with other institutions. I think we have a lot to learn from each other. This is something that, again, as a system, as a process, education needs to improve. And everything that we learn here, I think, is going to be for the benefit of our students. So thank you for being here, and Tech is your house, and welcome. Gracias, Marco.
Thank you so much, Juan Pablo.